In Italy, 5 railway workers died after being run over by a train in the north of the country. In South Africa, more than 70 people died after a fire in a building in downtown Johannesburg. And the government of Burkina Faso approved a bill authorizing the dispatch of military forces to neighboring Niger by mutual agreement with the neighboring country. Hello from the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. This is from the south. I'm your anchor Gladys Quesada and these are the news. In Ecuador, several explosions were registered in the center of Quito on Wednesday night. According to the police, it was a car bomb attack. The Ecuadorian National Police initially said that it was a vehicle fire. However, General Pablo Ramirez later said that the incident turned out to be a presumed attack because of the explosive elements it contained. In this regard, a car was set on fire and at least 4 shots were heard in a commercial area of the capital. 6 people, among them 4 Ecuadorians and a Colombian, were arrested for their alleged connection with the explosion of the vehicle containing 2 gas cylinders, a slow fuse, and apparently dynamite sticks. The event caused no casualties. In Guatemala, legislative authorities disowned deputies of the Semilla movement, party of the president-elect Bernardo Arevalo. The legislature recognized them as an independent group. Parliament's board of directors determined that the current 5 lawmakers of the Semilla, including the president-elect himself, will no longer be a legislative bloc in the Congress of the Republic. The decision comes amid the start of a criminal investigation into alleged irregularities in the party's formation process in 2017. In this respect, spokespersons for the party denounced that the action is carried out without any basis. Relatives of victims of missing people rallied in Mexico City and Bogotá on Wednesday, marking the UN's International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances. According to the Colombian Truth Commission, the almost 5-decade conflict between the government, the guerrilla groups, paramilitaries, and organized crime left an estimated 210,000 victims. On the other hand, Mexico has 2 distinct episodes that have left thousands of disappeared. First, a conflict between the government and guerrilla organizations between 1965 and 1990, a period in which the Mexican Human Rights Commission recorded a total of 532 victims. Another distinct period marked by a militarized response to combat organized crime since 2006 left, on the other hand, an estimated 200,000 victims.
For us, this day is to commemorate the victims. We consider that is a space that we cannot allow to go to oblivion. We remember these victimizing events that Colombia has experienced so that they never happen again.
I wish to invite you not to lose hope. I wish to invite you to continue with the demonstrations of solidarity, but above all, on the call to action and this commitment and conviction that we can all participate in the search.
In Haiti on Wednesday, police authorities started the interrogatory of the 18 Colombian suspects arrested more than 2 years ago and accused of being part of a mercenary squad that assassinated the president, Jovenel Moïse. 2 suspects were transported from Haiti's main penitentiary in downtown Port-au-Prince to a government office in nearby Pétionville for questioning by Judge Walter Boisser-Voltaire. According to Magistrate Bernard Saintville, the Colombian ex-soldiers had refused to testify until now. The 18 Colombians are among more than 40 suspects, including elite Haitian police officers who were arrested in Haiti after Moïse was shot and killed in July 2021 at his private residence. In Guarenas, a community east of Caracas, the Venezuelan capital, a family found a new source of income in gut breeding during the stall brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. After that, what seemed to be a crazy adventure and temporal activity became their livelihood and the motivation. Our colleagues Adriana Sibori and Jesus Romero went to their farm in the mountains and got their story for us in a new episode of the series Venezuela on the Move. Let's see.
The work day begins at dawn. Every day, this couple milks these goats who they consider to be part of their family, from which they can obtain 300 liters of milk per season.
For me, they are women with 4 legs, because everything is the same. The breastfeeding process, the birthing process, everything.
Goat milk is the most similar to maternal milk. It has vitamins, less fat, and is more digestible. They sell their production, but they do not accept their sacrifice.
For us to give away an animal is hard. As a business, we have to give them away because we cannot overcrowd our barns. But it's difficult. We try to find people who take good care of animals, and we give them recommendations. They are not animals that can be grazed and fed. They are animals of high dairy genetics.
They used to sleep in the barns, but now they have installed cameras in the birthing area so they can control the goats when they are not there. This way, they can see what is happening on their device. Victor is their assistant.
My thing is to work. This way I earn more money, and I can provide for my family.
The goats walk daily through these hills. There are 75 of them, and they receive complete care, vaccines every 3 months, and strict sanitary control. These 25 little goats do not lack supervision or feeding bottles. They started with 2 goats to clean the land, and that turned to a passion and made them stay in the country.
First of all, it's the peace of mind that I have. My daughters are still small and they are still studying. This enterprise has helped me economically because my husband had a transportation company. But when the pandemic started, construction was paralyzed. And since we were at home, I told my family to come and help me with the work, and we all started to make the farm grow. This was a window to the future. People told me that I was crazy, and I told them that I would have a good herd. And well, here I am, producing.
In 6 years, this farm has managed to even produce French cheeses, which they sell to gastronomic establishments in the capital. Its next step is to become more technological.
Adriana Sibori, Jesus Romero, Guarenas, Venezuela.
And after knowing of the story of Yesenia and her family, let's take a short break. But remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find the news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Italy, 5 railway workers died after being run over by a train in the north of the country. The workers were carrying out maintenance works on the railroad tracks at night when they were hit by a train on the outskirts of Turin. 2 other workers were unharmed during the accident, although they remain under observation. The 5 deceased, who have been identified and were aged between 22 and 52, were about to start replacing rails when they were hit near the town of Brandizzo by the train, which according to local media was traveling at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour. In Canada, police west of Toronto warned drivers Wednesday to keep their car windows closed after a truck spilled boxes containing 5 million bees onto a highway. Halton Regional Police said they received a call early in the morning that boxes of bees had come off a truck and spilled onto the Gulf Line, north of Dundas Street in Burlington, Ontario. The scene prompted police to warn the drivers to close their windows when passing and the pedestrians to avoid the area. By mid-morning, police reported that most of the 5 million bees had been safely collected and the boxes were being removed, although some were left for the uncollected bees to return to their home on their own. A summer honeybee colony has between 50,000 and 80,000 bees, according to the Canadian Honey Council, the National Beekeepers Association.
Communicate by smell, by sight, and all that. So they will start to communicate in those ways and figure out their way home. So hopefully sooner rather than later.
We move on to other topics now. Idalia tore through Florida on Wednesday as a dangerous and powerful hurricane, sending potentially catastrophic storm surges into coastal communities and knocking out power to thousands of people in the United States. The weather event made landfall as an extremely dangerous Category 3 hurricane in the sparsely populated swampy area of Big Bend, Florida, at about 7:45 a.m. local time. As it moved into Georgia, it began to weaken into a tropical storm, causing potentially deadly flooding due to rising waters and rainfall of up to 25 centimeters. Officials described the event as a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence for the hardest hit area of northwest Florida.
To be honest with you, I woke up this morning just in complete shock. I never seen anything like this. As I rode through town trying to get to my house, you see trees uprooted, power lines, laying in the road, and it's just it's pretty devastating. It took a toll on this town.
Now we move on to other topics. Russian authorities warned that they will respond to the Ukrainian drone attacks against 7 regions of the country. Specialists indicated that in the last 18 months, there have been at least 319 registered attacks from Kiev, with more than 600 drones. It was also reported that the Crimean Peninsula was the most affected by the aggression, registering at least 254 attacks. Media sources reported that the Russian airspace forces responded with an attack against Kiev's main Directorate of Intelligence headquarters, using a Kh-50 cruise missile. And Russia vetoed on Wednesday a United Nations proposal to extend sanctions on military-run Mali. The sanctions, set up in 2017, bans travel and freezes assets of anyone seen to threaten peace in the fragile country. The junta has urged the end of the sanctions after earlier forcing an end to a decade-long UN peacekeeping mission. 13 of the Security Council's 15 members backed the draft resolution led by Mali's former colonial power, France, and the United Arab Emirates, which would have prolonged the sanctions by 1 more year. Russia had accepted a continuation of the sanctions, although with the understanding it will not back further extensions, but oppose maintaining a panel that monitors the sanctions. Western powers accuse Russia of retaliating after a report by the panel spoke critically about the actions by Malian forces and their foreign security partners.
Russia voted against the draft resolution on extending the Malian sanction regime. Unfortunately, despite the fact that we repeatedly urged a constructive approach and a sensible compromise, the text did not in any way take into consideration the concerns of the Malian side or the Russian Federation's position.
TeleSUR English launches its own videos on demand site for you to go and revisit our interviews, the top stories, the special broadcastings, and more. Just go to the top left corner in our website homepage and click on the video option to access our VOD platform. And now we will have a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In South Africa, more than 70 people died after a fire in a building in downtown Johannesburg. The spokesperson for the city's emergency management services, Robert Mulaudzi, reported that the death toll from the fire rose from 63 to 73, but warned that this figure could increase. The fire broke out in the Marshalltown district at about 1:30 a.m. local time on Thursday, and so far authorities do not know the cause. The search and recovery operation for the victims is still continuing. The injured were taken to the hospital, and among them, some suffered minor injuries and others inhaled smoke.
So far we're moving up with all the floors just to clear, make sure that there's no other outstanding bodies which might be trapped, and then from there we'll hand over the scene to SAPS for further investigation. No, at this stage we don't know the cause of the fire, but investigations will be conducted to determine the cause of the fire.
City and regional officials visiting the scene have vowed to hold those responsible accountable for the overnight blaze.
We are not going to defend anyone. If there's an official of the city who will be found to have contravened or who to have neglected their responsibilities, heads will definitely roll.
According to local media, the government of Burkina Faso approved a bill authorizing the dispatch of military forces to neighboring Niger by mutual agreement with the neighboring country. According to the authorities, the document is based on an agreement signed in 2017 that facilitates Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to show solidarity to promote and strengthen their common security in case of external armed aggressions or destabilization. The approval comes days after the Nigerian junta, the military junta, authorized a Burkinabe and Malian authorities to intervene militarily on their territory in case of an aggression, following threats from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The military junta in Niamey, which passed July 26, announced through state television the dismissal of former President Mohamed Bazoum, rejected such threats, and appointed a new prime minister to form a transitional government. A Chinese government spokesperson on Thursday said that Beijing voiced serious concerns about trade and investment during recent talks with U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo.
The Chinese side expressed serious concerns about issues such as the Section 301 tariff on China, semiconductors policies, two-way investments restrictions, discriminatory subsidies, and sanctions on Chinese companies. China emphasized that generalizing national security is not conducive to normal economic and trade exchanges, and that implementing unilateral protectionist measures and is not in line with market rules and the principle of fair competition. This will only damage the security and stability of the global industrial and supply chains, undermine the enterprise's expectations of economic and trade cooperation, and destroy the atmospheres of cooperation.
Hundreds of LGBTQI+ rights activists, couples and their supporters marched in Nepal on Thursday to demand greater rights for gender minorities. In June, the country's Supreme Court issued an interim order allowing same-sex marriages to be registered for the first time. It was not clear when the court will make a final decision on the case. Nepal has come a long way since a 2007 court ruling called on the government to make changes in favor of the LGBTQI+ people. People who do not identify as female or male can now choose a third gender on their passports and other government documents. The new constitution also explicitly states that there can be no discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. And this month of August has left us with an unusual double of full moons. The 8th month of 2023 began with a sturgeon supermoon and now comes to an end with a blue supermoon. A second full moon in the same month is called blue to differentiate it from the first one already seen in the month. In addition, this blue moon is also a supermoon, which occurs when the Earth's natural satellite appears brighter than normal. The time of appearance of the supermoon can vary according to the geographical location being visible in countries in America, Europe, and Asia. This phenomenon can be enjoyed again in 14 years, as the next blue supermoon is expected to be in 2037. However, a regular supermoon is expected in September. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.